For first-time comers, you may not know that the Buddhist teaching, most of the Buddhist teaching concentrates on the mind, consciousness, not about blind faith, about believing in Buddha and you'll be forgiven. You know, it's not that. The Buddha wants us. A Buddhist is an investigator of truth, a researcher of truth. Not just blindly believe in the Buddha and say, Buddha give me blessings. That's not what the Buddhist teaching is all about. You have to study your relationship with the universe, your relationship with other people, with the society, with your family. So it's a study, it's actually a philosophical teaching. So right now we have been concentrating on the consciousness, the mind. We've been studying the mind. And when we talk about consciousness, we only have one consciousness. Actually, the Buddha told us that we have eight consciousnesses. It's a very strange word. You don't take a plural in consciousness grammatically, but we take a plural in this case because there are 8 altogether. And the Buddha delineated very clearly and analyzed it very clearly so that we understand our own consciousnesses. So that we understand, if we just use one word for consciousness, the common English is the mind. You have to understand your own mind. You may not understand yourself. Most people, you may think you understand yourself, actually you don't understand yourself. You're not in control of your own mind. If you are in control of your own mind, you would not have depression. You will say, I don't want a depression, please go away, and then the depression go away. You're not in control. You would prone to getting into anxiety, and you don't know about it. So the Buddha said, study your own mind in detail so that you know how you think, what you are thinking, how to turn your polluted thinking, how to transform your polluted thinking into wisdom. And with the wisdom, you can gear yourself to nirvana, to enlightenment. So that's what we've been talking about. We've been studying this, and I'm going to flash this again and again. This is very complicated, but just one page contains all, the 8 consciousnesses. This is the external environments. We have objects, material, and then we have sound, smell, taste, and touch. That's the external environments that we're in contact with. To summarize into 5 categories. Objects, all those make up of matter, molecules, protons, electrons, you name them. Sound, smell, taste, and touch. And then how do we get in contact with them? The perception. The perception contains eye perception. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. You see the eyes, consciousness, ears, nose, tongue, and body. And that's what we call perception through the 5 sensory organs. Now those are 5. And then the 6 is cognition. After we perceive them, then we cognize them. Various functions of the cognitive process, including interpretation, intellectualization, rationalization, stigmatizing and all that, cognition, go through your mind. And not just the 6 senses, we have the 7 consciousness, which is the ego consciousness, the manas consciousness. We have an ego mixed with our consciousness, tainted in our consciousness. And the ego is very profound consciousness that the Buddha went into detail as to study our own ego. And then we have the store consciousness, which is called the alaya consciousness, store of the present and past karmic energy. What you have done, what you have talked about, what you have thought about, what you have behaved, they won't get forgotten. They've always been stored in your consciousness. So you cannot get away with bad deeds. You think nobody have seen it, nobody have heard it, and you don't care about it? No, it stores in you all the bad things, good things, neutral things. So that's the reason why you have to be extremely careful, not just in your action, not just in your speech, in your thought. You have to be very careful in your thought. Thought is the origin of your behavior. Thought is the origin of your speech. You try to solve your problems at the root, not at the speech. You can't just shut up. When you shut up, you still have a lot of anger in you. Although you don't yell, you still have the anger in you. The Buddha said, you have to change the root. You have to change your anger, not just your yelling. All right, now these I just flashed it through. You have seen it many, many times. How do we study consciousness? We have been using 9 categories to study it. Objects, how do we perceive things? Modes, how do we know something? What is the moral nature of the consciousness? Where do this consciousness get activated? What are the concomitant mental functions, the mental factors that go with it, the necessary preconditions? How does each consciousness function? And how spiritual transformation into enlightenment, and how to lead sentient beings to enlightenment. We use this 9 categories to study every consciousness. The 9 categories. We want to systematize our study. This is a very profound course in philosophy and psychology. Some part of it is in modern psychology, but modern psychology may not have included Buddhist teaching, because the Buddhist teaching go very, very deep into consciousness. Modern psychology only got into ego, superego, and that's about it. And even in ego and superego, they just touch on the subject, they don't go into details. And they're only concerned about the present life. They have nothing to say about previous life. And all that. So a lot of details we go into. So we have gone into the realms of activities, and we said last time that all this 1 to 8 are the 8 consciousnesses, and these are the realms of activities. And we have 3 realms. This is the humans, the animals, the hell realms. This is the heavenly realms. This is the heavenly realms. But all this up to the 9th realms, they are still in life and death. When you're at the 9th realm, you are in heaven, you enjoy just happiness. When you're in this 1st realm, we are here. We are in the 1st realm, the 1st ground. We have the 6 paths of reincarnations. We're in the lowest realm. The 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, we're not there. Only for those higher level sentient beings, they are there. We are lower level. We're only in the 1st ground. Sometimes we think that we're the most intelligent. We can dominate the animals. We can, animals depend on us for a living. We are the most intelligent, but that's not the case. We are suffering. There are 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th level, which is much higher than us, and 6, 7, 8, 9 in a very high level. The Buddha has gone out of this 9 level into the realm of non-retrogression into these levels. So in other words, if you're at the 9th level, you are the heavenly beings in the 9th level, the top level. After you enjoy all the happiness, you still have to get back to life and death, to reincarnation. That's not the ultimate way to go. Heaven is not the ultimate way to go. It's much, much more happier than what we are in here. But still, you have to be subject to reincarnation, life and death. Right now, we are talking about the 8 consciousnesses in detail. And we are studying the eyes, the nose, the ear, the tongue, and the body only. We haven't got into 6 consciousness. We haven't got into 7. We haven't got into 8. We go from 1 to 5. The eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. In here, in our realm, in the 1st realm, they all are active. Our eyes are active, unless you don't have eyes. Some people are deaf, some people can't see. Some people can talk, right? So they are deficient in their senses. But assuming that you're not deficient in your senses, all your 8 senses function in the first realm, in this realm that we're living in. But in this realm we're living in, the animals also have the first 5 consciousness active. The ghost realm, the 5 consciousness are active. Even heavenly beings in the first ground. There are heavenly beings in the first ground, and there are heavenly beings in the 2, 3, 4, 5 ground too. So the heavenly beings in here, and sometimes you call them heavenly angels, the first 5 are active. But in the hell dwellers, hell victims, eyes, ears, nose, body, and tongue, they're not working anymore. People, sentient beings who suffer in hell, their eyes, their ears, their nose, their tongue, their body, they're not working. You know why? Because, for example, eyes. In hell, it's all darkness. The eyes don't function anymore. All darkness. And the ears, the clinking and clanking of all those torturing. You know why torture? Torture is not because there's another world which is like a prison. In this world we have a prison, right? In the prison they lock you up in a prison, for example. In hell they also have prisons. Other than prisons, they have the kind of torture that you have been using to torture others. Because there's cause and effect. So your eyes, your ears, your nose, your body is subject to all kinds of suffering. Your body is not effective anymore. It's just your 6th consciousness that is suffering. There's no talking, for example. They can't talk to each other. The tongue is not working anymore. So people in hell really suffer. And when they suffer, it's not just a superficial suffering. It's partially the 6th consciousness. P represents partial, and F represents the whole thing, 100%. Partial is not 100%. So in here, all the 8 senses are working, are active, except for hell victims. But if you go to the 2nd ground, which is a higher level than us, nose and tongue, they don't need to work anymore. Why? In other words, in a higher level than us, they don't need tongue and the nose. Why? Well, let's go. I summarize it for you in here. All first 5 consciousnesses function in the realm of desire. On the 2nd realm, the nose and tongue consciousness do not function. Only the eyes, ears, and body functions on a higher level than us. Why? Because sentient beings there in the higher level than us do not depend on morsel nourishment, which is connected with nose and tongue. In other words, they don't eat bread, rice, noodles, hamburgers, meat. They don't eat that kind of coarse food anymore. They don't need to use their nose to smell. They don't need to use their tongue to taste. Their food is taken through mental contact of joy. In other words, in the higher level, their food is not the same as our food. You think our food is delicious. No, our food contains a lot of karma in it. You've been killing animals for food. You kill the pigs, you kill the cows, you kill the ducks, the chickens, and put all this karmic food onto the table and you eat it, a very coarse level. The crudest form of food is taken by mouthfuls via the smell of the nose and the taste of the tongue. This kind of bodily nutriment is subject to decays and changes and is only seen in the realm of desire. Coarse food is effective nourishment for coarse organism, which we are. But it's of no use for finer organism, for example, in the 2nd ground. They are of the higher level. Higher and higher consciousness level must be fed with finer and finer kinds of nourishment. So to them, their joy is what? Their joy is in tranquility. Tranquility is their joy. But tranquility is what we're looking for when we are very sad, when we are depressed, when we are very angry. We're looking for tranquility, which we cannot. That's the kind of food that the higher organism have, that we've always been looking for, and some people never can enjoy tranquility and peace of mind. Peace of mind is the kind of food that they have. Peace of mind is the kind of food that we're always looking for and we are lacking. Do you know that just for instance, just an example, peace of mind. Do you think we have peace of mind? We don't have peace of mind in here. I remember that reporters have been interviewing tycoons and billionaires, in many, many parts of the world, and sometimes the conclusion is, what is your happiness? Mr. A, you have thousands of billions of dollars. You must be extremely happy. You have all the money. You don't even know how much money you have. Thousands of billions. Are you happy? And what is the definition of happiness? They usually don't say, my happiness is more money. No, they may not say that because they have billions. My happiness is the peace of mind that we have. I want peace of mind. I don't have peace of mind. I have a lot of money. I have a lot of girlfriends. I have a lot of boyfriends. I have a lot of luxury homes. I can't even remember how many units of luxury homes I have. I can't remember all these mansions that I have. I have luxury homes in every part of the country, in every country of the world. But I don't have peace of mind. I still need that peace of mind. Every day I'm involved in meetings. I'm involved with all these people calling me up. They want decisions to be made. I have meetings and interviews. I never get a chance to see my wife, my children, and maybe I have children in every country of the world. Do you know that there are actually people who have 100 sons and daughters? They could have 20 in I don't know, in China, 10 sons and daughters in Hong Kong, in Canada. They can't even remember their sons and daughters. And I have heard a story that when they want to know how many sons and daughters they have, they get into their computer. And tomorrow I'm traveling to Canada. I want to see my offsprings. And they press the button, it comes out, I got 21 in here. All right, so I got, the number 12 is John, number 13 is Jeanette, number 16 is Chris. So who am I going to meet tomorrow? You're not surprised by that? So peace of mind or joy, mental joy, they're always in meditation, the higher level. The kind of food that we take is hamburgers, bread, you name them. That's the kind of food. Those are the coarse kind of food that we're eating. But we seem to be very satisfied with the kind of food we have. We need them for nutriment, for body nutriment. And when we eat that kind of food, when you take that kind of food, coarse food in, mouthful by mouthful, it will be excreted out from your body in dirt. So you take it in, it's like a test tube. It's like a test tube. You put something in the test tube and it comes out from the other end of the test tube. That's what we're doing in here. We keep our lives active. All right, so now we have studied now the first category. How do our five senses perceive the world? We perceive the world as actual reality. I've explained that in detail. I don't want to explain it again now because people will be bored, who listen to it again and again. And then the modes of knowledge. How do the first five senses get to know? There are, of course, four kinds of modes of knowledge. By direct veridical perception, by inference, it turns out to be a fallacy. Knowledge from saints and trustworthy sources. And then the moral nature of the first five senses we've been talking about. And then the realm of activities, all these five senses are active in the first ground. We're now in first ground. And in the second ground, the the tongue and the nose, they don't need it anymore because their food is different from ours. Their food is the meditative food, the kind of joy that we don't have, but they have. And then in the third ground, they don't need the five senses anymore. They don't need eyes, ears, nose, body, and tongue. We need them because we are coarse. We're not the final level of living existence. You have to understand that. All right, now the next category that we want to study our first five senses is our eyes, ears, nose, body, and tongue. When they're active, how did they work? How do our five senses work with the mental factors inside of us? Our eyes work with some mental factors inside of our mind to carry our actions. The mind itself is just a consciousness, but concomitantly working with the consciousness are many, many mental factors. We call them mental functions that help the eyes to judge, help the eyes to differentiate. There are mental functions that help the ear consciousness to function. There are mental functions to help the taste consciousness to function. Now we are analyzing into something more detailed. The concomitant mental factors of each consciousness. So far you know what I'm talking about? You're already bored because how does it affect your daily life? It affects you a lot. When you know all these, then you know actually who you are. Why do you behave in a certain way? That is detailed psychology about yourself. How do you understand yourself? Why are you in suffering? Why am I in depression? Why am I have fear? Why am I have anxiety? Why do I have this phobia that I don't understand why I have this? I started this phobia or depression when I was 12, and I don't know why I have this. You have to understand it in detail. Then you can solve the problems. You just don't depend on a psychiatrist giving you medication. You understand it bit by bit. Then you can resolve it. Well, let's get into another category of study, the fifth one, which is concomitant mental functions. Let us get into it. Concomitant mental functions that goes with the eyes, ears, nose, body, and tongue. First one, generally interactive functions. Particular functions, unwholesome functions, wholesome functions, four indeterminate functions. So altogether, in our consciousness, we have 51 mental functions altogether. In other words, if we're talking about the 8th consciousness, the eyes, ears, nose, body, and tongue, and the 6th consciousness, which is the mano, the 7th consciousness, which is the manas, and the 8th, which is the alaya, there are 51 mental functions helping these 8 consciousnesses simultaneously to work. There are 51 altogether. But not every consciousness have this 51. Some consciousness may have 34, some may have 22, some may have 30. The 6th consciousness, the mano consciousness that we have all the 51 functions helping to perform. But the first 5 consciousness, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the body, and the tongue, only have 34 concomitant mental functions helping the 5. But we got to know the 51 first, right? So when you study the Buddhist teaching, it really is very profound, because before you know something, you really have to understand the basics before you get into the details. So then you have to understand, how do our mind works? How does our mind work? When I see something, how come I'm attracted by it? When I see something I dislike, how come I hate it? When there is an anxiety in me, how come it comes up? How does the depression actually originate from me? How does it work? The depression is not you. The depression is a conglomeration of all these causes that you have been accumulating. If you understand it, you can let go of them. They don't affect you. Because you have been identified, you identify yourself with the depression. You identify yourself with the phobia. You identify yourself with the anxiety, with the sadness. Because you think that's who you are. You are that person. But you are not. You've just been bound by it. You don't understand it. You don't know about it. You get mixed up with it. You should stand apart from it. If you understand it, you will stand apart from it. If you understand all this garbage that you are in, these are the heaps of garbage that you are in, you walk out from it. You walk out from the garbage. Because those heaps of garbage are not you, but you identify yourself with the garbages. Poor guy, poor girl, you've been identifying yourself with the depression, with the anxiety. Get away from it. You don't need it. You can stand away from it. But the strange thing is, when you know that you have these garbages, for the first few instances, you may get shocked. Oh, I have these garbages. You may get shocked. How come I have these garbages? Previously, you don't know you are the garbage. You are in the garbage. Now you know, you realize that you've been surrounded by these garbages. You want to walk away from it. But that's the first step. In other words, if you want to climb up to the mountain of enlightenment, of understanding, you're standing in here, you really have to go to the valley to go up. Don't be afraid of getting down to the valley. Because if you go down to the valley, you don't get buried in the valley. You slowly climb up. Sure, you go down to the valley in order to climb up, but when don't be afraid of it. There could be creeks in the valley, streams, thorns, all kinds of things in the valley. Have you heard that song? Cross every mountain, cross every stream in Sound of Music. That's really a good song. That nun has been singing about how you cross every mountain, cross every stream. Yeah, you have to cross it. Don't be afraid of it. Then you'll be on your way to enlightenment. So, we want to study how these mental factors have been affecting you, have been affecting us. Generally, interactive functions. Now, you always have to remember, I'm not talking about the sixth consciousness yet. I'm talking about the first five, the most simple ones, the simple consciousnesses, not the sixth. The sixth is extremely complicated. The sixth consciousness is very complicated. If you can transform the six consciousnesses, then you can transform the first five. But you have to understand the first five. So in other words, the first five consciousnesses are your salesman and your sales lady. The sixth is the manager. You want to change the company, you can't just change the salesman and the sales lady. You have to change the person, the manager, who have been managing those salesmen and sales lady. You change the manager. You can't just change the front end, you change the manager. But let's get to the front end first. If you don't even understand the salesman and the sales lady inside of you, how can you understand the manager? The salesman, sales lady, manager is all you. But that is the polluted you, the illusory you, not the real you. Not the real you. You have been identifying that as you, as I, but that's not your real I. That is a polluted, tainted, illusory, imaginative I. That's why the Buddha pointed out to us, you have been living with that illusory, imaginative I, and you have been suffering. We've been suffering. You have to get out from it. Very scientific. Nothing about Buddha, give me the blessings, and if you give me the blessings, I'll be on top of everything. You have to work it out yourself. Walk your path. Take the road that you have to walk. You can do it. The Buddha said, you can do it. The Buddha have been doing that. The Buddha has already finished doing that. He walked out from the forest and he wanted to give you a map to walk out. This is our map to walk out from the forest of confusion, the forest of suffering, the forest of life and death. We are in the forest. Are you interested in walking out? Some people may not even know that they have to walk out from it. They're still involved with what? Money, fame, reputations, killing, sexual misconduct, lying, all kinds of things. We are in the forest. It's a pity. We want to walk out. The Buddha showed us the map. A lot of people have already walked out from it. We haven't. We are in it. But we have that map. Well, strangely speaking, some people may be given that map. When they look at it, they don't want to look at it. I'm confused. I don't know how to look at this map. They just put it down and keep on driving. And they get into the wrong road, they never get into the destination. Some people don't like to look at map. They don't have a map. They don't want the map. But we do. We want it. All right. The first 5 generally interactive functions. Attention. What is attention? When you see something, do you need to pay attention to it? Sure you do. When your eyes see something, the holding and thought of an object that has been earlier experienced, its functions is keeping the mind on the object. That means if you see something using your eyes and you're not paying attention to it, you don't know what you're seeing. Do you? If I'm looking at you, and if you're John, if you're Jeanette, if you're Bill, Chris, I'm looking at you. But if I'm thinking about something else, I'm looking at you, but I don't know who you are. If I look at you and I want to identify you as who I know, I have to pay attention. If I'm eating something and I'm grief-stricken, I don't know what I'm eating. I just keep on eating. But I'm crying, I don't know what I'm eating because I don't have the attention in my eating. In my tongue consciousness and in my ear consciousness, if I don't pay attention, I don't know what I'm listening to. There's just sound. If I'm extremely happy, I may not differentiate the sound in me. So in order for that consciousness to work, you must have the attention. If the attention is not there, then your consciousness is not working. How does that help us in knowing this? I like to always ask the question. For those who you cannot identify what you learn from your daily experience, then you're not learning. You're like taking a course, a philosophy course, you just memorize it. Okay, attention, context, sensation, perception, volition. You're just memorizing words and you don't know what it means. That's usually the faults, the habit of a student. But they don't want to think. They don't want to identify every one of these to their daily life. What is attention? If you want your consciousness to work well, you have to pay attention. If you're in a lecture room listening to a professor giving you a lecture, you're sitting there, but you are as well be dead. I mean, you're not listening, you're sleeping, or you're not paying attention. So if you want to work out something, you must pay the attention. If you really want to be a good employee, you must give the attention. And it's not easy to get that attention. If you're working, I'm depressed. I want to pay attention to my depressed attitude. I want to pay attention to my anxiety. I pay attention to my fear. You cannot work. You may as well say, boss, I want to go home because I'm depressed. Attention can be directed. If you say, I don't want to think about this depression. I want to be attentive in my work. That change, whole attitude. It's you who pays the attention, not anybody else. Attention. When you're meditating, if you're not paying attention, your meditation is not going to work. Period. If your body is here, you have listened to Alan giving you the brief introduction as to 3 adjustments. You're not paying attention. You're not interested in it. You just sit there. You're not meditating. So attention, contact. When the attention is, what is this contact? The contact is the state of contact arising out of the encounter of the organ, the object, and the consciousness. The contact is that which is born of the coming together of the faculties. In other words, your ears, your listening, your ear organs, listen to a sound. So your ears, your sensory organ of ears, listening to external sound, the two things, right? The listening organs, the ears, the sound. The two in contact, when the two is in contact, there arises the consciousness. We call it the listening consciousness. If you don't have the contact, you don't have the listening consciousness. Sensation. Generally interactive functions, there's 5, attention, contact, sensation, perception, and volition. They must be present. And if your consciousness, if your first 5 are really active, this will be generally interactive functions. Those are the 5 functions. Those 5 functions are active in your first 5 consciousness. Sensation. What is sensation? When you have the contact, when you have the attention, when your sensory organs interact with external sound, and thereby the hearing, listening consciousness arises. Then, as a result, you will have sensation will come out. What kind of sensation? A pleasant sensation, unpleasant sensation, and a neutral sensation. I'm listening to the music, I love it, I like it. I'm listening to that guy yelling, I hate it. So you have either a pleasant sensation, or unpleasant sensation, or neutral sensation. And that embraces all the sensations. Of course, sensations can be broken down into finer ones. I have this sensation of joy. I have a pleasant sensation of, sometimes you may have a sensuous sensation. In other words, the kind of music you listen to arouse your sensuality. Arouse your, some kind of music arouses your greediness even. So just to break it down into generalization of sensation is either pleasurable, unpleasurable, or neutral, which is indeterminate. There's got to be sensation arises when that consciousness is working. Perception. You actually perceive the externalities. Volitions, as a result of perceiving it, having the sensation, volition is somehow your consciousness would work with the 6th consciousness to carry out into a thought or a speech or an action. It will be carried out. So in other words, your senses work with all these 5 factors, all these 5 functions, and volitionally carry out into behavior. A violent behavior, a deviant behavior, a normal behavior, abnormal behavior. I don't know what kind of behavior. So your behavior is from the interactive, generally interactive functions working together to get that behavior out. This is psychology. Why do you have to know this? Then you understand yourself better. So that sensation is not the real you. It's the habitual you, the illusory you. Some people yelling that infuriate you. You want to yell back. You want to fight. You want to hurt. You want to kill. You want to lie. You want to... That is not you. That is the infuriated you. That you have been tainted by all this karmic energy that you have to get rid of. You have to cleanse. That you could just be a thought of sensation. Don't identify yourself with that thought. That thought is not you. That thought is a result of you attaching to something. And you've been identifying you with that thought of hatred, that thought of depression, that thought of anxiety, that thought of jealousy. So if you learn all these, you slowly learn how to detach from your emotions. But you need training though. Knowing about it and actually know how to deal with it is another thing. It's just like when a person has depression and you are, maybe your family members, been taught, oh, I have depression. And maybe you think that, oh, my sister or my brother has depression, then I want to get into Google to get all the information and tell him the theory of, the philosophy, the theory of depression. You don't need to, because he knows about it already. He does not need the theory, because he knows about it. He may just need someone to talk to be together with. So you don't say, okay, this is why, this is the reason why. You have to slowly in other words, you have to spend your time with him, get through it with him in order to resolve it. He needs the time to cleanse it, not medication. Medication can only suppress it. It will come out again. Suppressed it, comes out again. All right, particular functions. When we're talking about particular functions, not every consciousness has it. And desire, this is the liking for an undertaking. The desire for an object that has been thought about. In other words, when your five consciousnesses function, some may have stronger desire to do something, and some may not have. May not have that desire. So the desire in every consciousness is not the same. So what's the desire in the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body? What is the desire in the tongue? The desire in the tongue is to taste something delicious. When that desire is strong, you will habitually stick to that desire. You want that taste of coffee. You want that taste of hamburger. You want the taste of meat. You want that you want that desire. And resolve is something like you want to be persistent in doing it. You want to have the resolve that you want to be persistently having. You want me to be a vegetarian? I cannot. I'm a meat eater. I'm not used to vegetarian. Killing animals? No, I didn't kill. I just bought it from the supermarket. But you don't know that you're indirectly supporting the killing of animals for food. They slaughter animals for you because you want to eat animal meat, so they slaughter for you. There's karmic energy in slaughtering animals. And you bear that energy partially because you're involved with killing. You may not like people killing seals, but you like to wear the fur coats, the mink. They smoke 200-300 of minks to get a mink coat, but you don't know about it, you just wear it. Because you have the resolve and the desire to have that. And you don't know how wrongful it is. You don't know how it is involved with killing, because you didn't analyze it in the detail. Okay, so far the questions. I don't want to go too deep into particular functions. Maybe I should take particular functions next time. Now, in the first five, the first five consciousnesses would be active if you have attention, contact, sensation, perception, and volition. Will be all active in there. Some of this may not be active. But if the first five consciousnesses work, it has to be generally interactive in order that the action is carried out, the thought is carried out, the speech is carried out. Maybe I should stop at this point. Any questions? Any discussions? No feedback? Are you bored by it? Is it interesting or not interesting? It's interesting. So the reason why we are studying consciousness is then we know every thought arises in us. We know what kind of thought. When you're meditating, when you all of a sudden have a thought arises in you, you will analyze where does this thought comes from and how it arises. This thought is not me. It's just a thought. This thought of jealousy, this thought of rage in me, I hate it. But that's just a thought, that's not you. It's just a thought that comes up because of many of these conditions put together, it comes up. But don't identify that thought, that hatred, that's you, that's not you. But when you don't know about yourself, when you don't have the wisdom, you identify that thought with you. You cannot get rid of it. Because you thought that thought is you. That's a thought that comes in your mind, which you have to refine, you have to let go. If you can be in control of your thought, if you are in control of your own thought, if you realize every thought that comes up and the nature of that thought, if you know that you should or should not have that thought, you're already on your path of enlightenment. So if a wholesome thought, if a moral thought comes up, if a thought of compassion comes out, I have a thought of compassion. This is the right thought. I want to carry out my compassion into doing something nice for my family, doing something nice for myself, something nice for society. You want to sustain that thought? And when the thought comes out as a thought of rage, a thought of anxiety, a thought of killing, a thought of lying, then you know this thought, and I should not have this thought. I want to let go of this thought. Then at least you're on the right path. But most people, they don't know about that thought. When someone have the habit of alcoholic person, when that thought of wanting to drink comes up, he cannot get rid of it. He has to have it. Plus the physiological changes that has inside of him. He need the alcohol physiologically. He need that alcohol psychologically. Both what drives him to do what he has to do to get that alcohol. He can't get rid of it because he has identified himself with that thought of wanting to drink.